Veni Vidi Vici, which pretty much means I came, I would have conquered, but then I had too much wine. And wine in this age as well, especially, it's a heavy drink. The headaches you get next day, I couldn't be bothered. But I tell you what doesn't give you a bad headache, and is wine related. It's a game called Viticulture. Now, Viticulture is a game where you are a vintner, and that means you do a lot of vintning, and that's exciting. You see, Viticulture is a worker placement game, and a lot of worker placement games have genres like farming in Caverna or Agricola, or just doing your own thing, and that's nice. I know that a lot of these games receive criticism because their theme is perceived as to be very thin, but I like the appropriate theme because, you see, vintning is a lifestyle choice, and you are your own boss. You have your own vineyard and do your own thing, and whether you fail or succeed depends entirely on you. And that's cool. I really like that. Now, I think games are in a very, very funny position right now. Now, if you'll notice, Viticulture is not the sort of game we would normally review. Not because of its genre of game, but simply because it's a little bit older than the games we tend to have a look at these days. And that's funny in itself, because if you think about 10 years ago, then if you looked at the board game, you thought, well, Monopoly is a classic, and so is Risk. And then we have new games like Settlers of Catan or Dominion, even though the time difference between Settlers of Catan and Dominion releasing is huge. But these days, if you have a game that's a bit older than 2 years, but, you know, people are still playing, you almost look at it as if it's a classic, you know, as if it's been around for ages. And I think that's due to the fact that games have been a lot more popular. And that's a good thing in itself. But here's the kicker. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with having a look at something that's stayed around for a little bit. Now, what we're not going to be doing in this video is we're not going to be getting progressively drunk, you see, because Shut Up and Sit Down already did that joke, and we sometimes get accused of being a bit like them, so we're going to avoid doing any jokes that they do. But what we are going to be doing is we're going to be having a look at how you actually win a game of Viticulture. Now, in the world of Viticulture, vintners, just like in real life, are often scored by points. And it's very simple. You simply need to be the first person to reach 20 points at the end of this board. And when you reach 20 points, that says end, and the world ends. And so does the game. And then whoever person has the most points, they win. It's as simple as that. But how you win the game? Well, for that, we're going to have to go to a new segment called The Journey of the Grape. Journey of the Grape, Journey of the Grape, Journey of the Grape, Grape, Grape. Now, any good Italian grape begins its journey with the mamas and the papas. You see, when you become a vintner, you don't really have anything to start with, so your good old-fashioned Italian mamas and papas come through, give you a little bit of seed money. Now, the nice thing about Italian mamas and papas is apparently that you can choose your own parents, so you could have a Fallon if you wanted to, or a Nadja, and that's up to you. And your dad could be Joel. How neat is that? But here's the thing. Once you have chosen your starting things, they will grant you workers as well. And I imagine they're probably like your cousins or your uncles or some such, because who else is going to work for you? And these workers you will place on the board to do the things that you want to do. But here's the kicker. This board is split into summer actions and winter actions, and winter always happens before summer. So if you spend all your workers on actions that belong to summer zones, you won't get to do anything in winter. And who's gonna harvest your grapes then? Once you settle into your grape farm, you'll be able to actually farm the grapes, and they will come in the form of cardboard, like all grapes do in the real world. And once you get a grape, one of the actions that you can do is you can actually plant a card, and they will go into one of your 3 fields, and each field has a maximum wine value available. You see, each type of card that you get has different potential grapes, and they are either white or red, and they have a different value, meaning the higher the grape value, the better it is. And eventually you can just plant them. And for example, if this field can hold a maximum of 7 and you plant a white 4 and a red 3. That means that when you actually harvest these grapes, they will go into your crush pad and they will come in the form of these white pips. And they will immediately come with the value pre-assigned to them. So the white 4 will become a 4 right here, and the red 3 will become a 3 right here. But what if you had 2 grapes of the same color like this? Well, then whenever you harvest this, you will get immediately a white grape of value 6. So when you have your grapes in your crush pad, you can kind of stomp on them with your feet, and that's a lot of fun. But you're not going to make a lot of money that way. What you really want to do is you want to make it into wine, and just bear 1 second, okay? Oh, that was good. And then when you made it into wine, you can move it into the wine cellar and have it here, which is nice, except your wine cellar is kind of rubbish and you only have a small one. If you actually want to make a wine value of 4 or higher, then you need to build a medium cellar. And if you want really valuable wine, if you want pink wine or rosé or sparkling wine, you want a large cellar. The funny thing though about making rosé and sparkling wine is that apparently it comes when you mix together white and red, because white and red is pink. That's at least the logic of the game. But if you actually want to do something with this wine, something that's valuable, you want to sell it. And through the course of the game, you'll be able to get these contracts. It'll say, I want 1 red wine. Actually, I want more than 1 red wine. And I want white wine, and I want like at least a decent one, not like a £5 Tesco one. And then you'll get 2 victory points and 1 retainer coin, which means retainer means at the start of every round, you will get 1 lira. And that's primarily the way you get victory points in the game. And the first person to reach the 20-point mark right here will trigger the end of the game. And once that round ends, then everyone's a winner because everyone is drunk. You see, and that really is the thing about viticulture. That's it. There is a certain linearity to it, and you don't really get a variety of different ways you're going to play the game and win the game. You are primarily going to draw plant cards, then you're going to plant those plant cards and they will go here, and then you will take your workers and harvest the field and make some grapes, and then you're gonna make the wine, and then you're gonna sell the wine in a contract, and that's it. There isn't much variety, and you might have variety in terms of how you laid out your fields and what kind of wine it produces, whether you want to go for sparkling wine or rosé wine, or maybe have a smaller sale and fill out more contracts at the same time. So where is the draw of viticulture? What does it do that engages so many people? Well, I think the answer lies in the summer and winter visitor cards. You see, these cards are really what adds spice to the game. They let you do things the way that you normally wouldn't be able to do. See, anything you want to do in viticulture is kind of a worker placement action. If you want some coins, you place a worker and you get coins. If you want to build a building, you place a worker, you build a building. And to play these cards, you also need to place a worker, but they will often let you do more than just by placing a worker. And the summer visitor cards often refer to actions that are related to summer, and the winter visitor cards often refer to actions that are related to winter, like this uncertified teacher that lets you lose a victory point to train another extra worker, which means you go from having 3, which is what you have at the start of the game, to 4 in the next round, which is obviously better. In worker placement games, you want to have more workers, unless in some games where you don't and they're deliberately designed that way. But there's another option on the card. You can also gain 1 victory point for each opponent who has a total of 6 workers, which is the maximum allowed. And here's the thing, whilst these cards often provide choices, it's often quite clear what the choice is. For example, discard 2 cards to gain 4 lira, or discard 4 cards to gain 3 victory points. Well, 3 victory points in a game where you have to reach 20 is a lot. And if you have a lot of spare cards, it's not really a choice. You just discard it and do it, because 1 action, 3 victory points, that's a very good ratio. And if you look at viticulture mathematically, if you look at it from the perspective, how do I best plant my grapes, harvest my grapes, make them into wine and sell them, then viticulture is not a very interesting game. And if you're looking for choices and variety from these cards, well, there is variety in terms that they'll sometimes feel slightly unfair, as you can draw a card that won't really let you do what you want to do, or you will draw the right card at the right time. And oftentimes when you win or lose Viticulture, you will feel like I've won because I've drawn the right card, and I've lost because I haven't. See, if you think of Viticulture like that, then you're not thinking of it the right way. You're thinking of it sideways. Because Viticulture isn't necessarily a game about choices. It is about meticulous planning. Because again, everything you want to do is an action, and you only have 3 workers when you start the game. And more importantly, whenever you put a worker down somewhere, that space is blocked by other players and they can't do it anymore, unless of course they have the grande worker, which is specifically there to ignore that rule. But what's even more interesting is that some action spaces come with a bonus, but are only unlocked if you're playing with more than a couple of players. So right here, you will be able to not just plant a field by taking that action, but also draw a card that you will plant that field with. And that is neat, and that is interesting. That's the fun bit of Viticulture. That's the meat and potatoes of it. But for me, honestly, I felt like I am a gamer that wants choices. And the choices for me in Viticulture didn't quite deliver. It's not the same as playing a Rosenberg game. Even though Rosenberg himself, the granddaddy of worker placement games, enjoyed Viticulture so much, he made a little expansion for it. So maybe I'm in the wrong here. Maybe I'm not finding what's cool about Viticulture because I'm not the sort of gamer that would find what's cool about Viticulture. Or maybe I'm just drunk. Maybe I'm just a little bit... I mean, I'm wearing this silly hat. How did I even end up with this silly hat? But I'll tell you the one thing I do like about Viticulture is the community spirit that you can find. Not here in this box. See, this is Viticulture Essential Edition. It comes with little things like, for example, these field cards, which weren't in the original game before. Now, see, you can, as an action, you can sell this field and get some money. You can't plant in it, but you can rebuy it, and it's a nice thing. And remember those grande workers I mentioned that let you ignore the rule of placing workers where there are already workers, and you can place the grande worker and it's fine. Well, here's the thing, and a lot of things like card balance and you know, they weren't balanced before in the first edition, and now they're kind of better, they're finer, they're very, very fine. This comes from player input on the forums. The people said, look, I don't like that very much, you know, can you make it better, Jamie Stegmaier? And Jamie Stegmaier said, yeah, I can. And that's nice. That doesn't come in many games. You know, it's a community spirit of working on something together and making a better thing, a more productive, good thing with good things in it. It's good. It's very good. I really like it. It's a very positive thing about the game. Very, very like it. So in summary, Viticulture, good game if you like light Euros and stuff. And if you don't like a lot of thinking, maybe But if you do, and you want choices, and if you have like friends who are not board gamers and you want to say, hey, worker placement is great, then you might want to bring them around for Viticulture. But what if you want to enjoy it yourself? Well, in that case, my friends, is an expansion called Inaksut, which is really good because it's a very big box that adds a lot of things, and it's just more than like the actual box. And there's like trees and cheese, and there's a whole board, and the board has like 4 seasons instead of 2. There are 4 seasons to begin with, but you have worker placement actions in all the seasons. And there's Tuscany, and you can put stars in Tuscany, and the more stars you have, the better. And there's cows and mafia and big buildings, and it's great. It's the choices I feel is still linear in it, and Tuscany is hard to get because it's out of print. But they're making an Essentials edition of Tuscany, which is to pair with Essential editions of Viticulture like grape. And there's a very important point to be made about Viticulture, which is I have wine on my lip. There we go. I did it. I did a whole review
without doing a single shut up and sit down joke. And what does it even matter anyway? If people like do a video like the Dice Tower, nobody says, oh, you're ripping off the Dice Tower. And anyway, shut up and sit down are great because they do funny videos. And if you do funny videos yourself, you just end up doing jokes, which is kind of end up sounding similar. And it's not like I did like a timey-wimey thing like they did in Time Stories anyway. Why would I do that? It's a video about wine, not about time. Even though it rhymes. Anyway, Viticulture is great. Why does my head feel like a squashed tomato? Oh God. Oh no, I still have to review Viticulture. What even happened yesterday? Why is there an empty bottle of wine? Just look at my hair. Oh God, I better wear this hat or something. Right, okay, let's do this.
Veni, vidi, vici, which pretty much means I came, I would have conquered, but then I had too much wine. And
So in summary,
wine at this age as well.
My mama cooks in Italy, mama swims in Argentina, mama's got a chunga, yeah. My mama's works in Venezuela, mama likes